These videos will make you question everything. So remember, this is for entertainment purposes only. Let's check it out.
Has anybody talked to you about Wilkes Land?
What I've heard that it's a portal. A portal takes you from one structure to another or to a vessel outside our atmosphere. Like an invisible elevator. This particular portal was underground, inside a structure.
What did it look like?
It had a frame, had hieroglyphics, whatever the meanings were, we still don't know. But the structure, or the frame of this portal acted like a wormhole from point A to point B, a moon pool.
A moon pool?
The description I've been told looks just exactly like a moon pool.
Okay, what is a moon pool?
A moon pool, say it's in a submarine that's very deep. You've got a hatch in the floor that is open to the sea. Water does not come in and flood the vessel. The ambient pressure keeps that water, but you can enter the water and ascend from it through this moon pool.
And so, do you mean that, using the word moon pool, that you're saying that there's something that's vertical that looks like a moon pool?
It looks like you're walking into the water, but it's not water.
Shape?
The ones I've been described of is square.
Square?
Yes, ma'am. It would be, I'm sure you've seen the movie Stargate. Exactly same thing, except the frame is square, not round.
Has anybody...
See what I mean? Fuel your suspicion, bro. What are they doing there? What have they found there? You know what I mean? What are they not telling us? And they're free to do what they want to do because there's no eyes and ears there, man.
What you're about to hear is real. My name is not too important. The information that I'm about to tell you is extremely important. I was an intelligence specialist with the United States Navy. Since then, if you watch my other videos, which have been removed, you realize that strange things have started to happen to my body. If you remember, my eye on this side has started to get more of a slit and a reptilian, or I guess snake eye appearance. If you look at my other videos, or what I'm adding right here, you can actually see up close what my eye looks like. If you remember, my body in certain areas, like for example, you look at my elbows, this isn't a trick. This isn't something that I'm doing some Photoshop event. My elbows on both sides, I'm growing additional limbs. My hands, my thumbs, they're extending and growing too. At first, I just put out a cry for help on TikTok. I didn't know who was gonna answer, who was gonna respond, and it took me so long to start to realize what was going on with my body. I had tons of people, if you remember, my old account had millions of views and people following it, and it got banned within 6 months. I tried to post again and it was shut down. I'm not allowed until yesterday morning to repost and spread the word of what's actually going on. It took me a while to realize I'm one of, if you notice, the first people to receive an actual Neuralink. Now people doubt, they'll debunk, they'll sit there and say, there's no human trials. Yeah, there's the scar. With that, I've started to see and notice things that I just passed up before. Maybe I forgot, or maybe was erased.
What y'all think? Y'all believe them? I didn't even know they had started human trials on Neuralink. You know, I thought I heard animal trials were going on, but they could have started. But he didn't even say what the Neuralink was for. He just said he has it. I don't know, man. I don't know. seems pretty suspicious to me. I would have to see, hear, and a few more of his videos, to which I don't really care to really go any further with any more of his videos, but I would have to see more. I don't know.
What's a conspiracy theory that you 1,000% believe in?
Those of you that have been paying attention to the shit that's been going on in Florida, here's what I've pieced together. So, if we all remember, the U.S. Navy detonated a 40,000-pound bomb off the Florida coast. It registered as a 3.9 magnitude earthquake on June 18th, about 100 miles off the coast of Florida. Fast forward 5 days, and the Surfside condo collapsed out in Miami. Actually happened on July 2nd, but so fast forward like another week or so, a pipeline bursts and the ocean starts on fire, right? Fast forward to literally yesterday, another building in Miami-Dade had a partial collapse, the roof collapse. And now I'm not saying that the buildings weren't a little iffy. There was definitely some problems with the Surfside one, but I think that bomb that the Navy put off contributed to all of the shit that's going on in Florida right now.
What's a conspiracy theory?
Somebody got some explaining to do. What's happening? What's going on? What haven't y'all been telling us about that?
I think it's about time that we do disclose that we are in contact with non-human intelligence. That's what needs to be put out there in the public.
Tim Gallaudet has spent a career serving his country. First in the Navy, working in areas like aircraft carrier combat operations and assisting Navy SEAL teams during counter-terrorism operations. Why do you think there is this cover-up? What are they concealing?
This is technology we're still trying to learn about, and it could give us an advantage in any military conflict. What you have going on right now are, again, legacy classified programs, special access programs, and without congressional direction and White House policy, that's not going to change. One of my jobs in the Navy, I was the chief meteorologist of the Navy at the time when Ryan was encountering the UAP off the U.S. East Coast. People know that I received a secret email with the Go Fast video attached to it from my boss's operations officer, where I learned now that these were happening and occurring in training airspace and causing near mid-air collisions. So that safety issue is important, and I couldn't believe, well, I understood why, but the Navy didn't do anything about that, and then they actually pulled back that email from my computer on the secret network.
Clearly, you believe there's a cover-up.
Yes. I think it's about time that we do disclose that we are in contact with non-human intelligence. That's...
So he's another person. Here we have another person willing to risk credibility, everything they worked for, to become a whistleblower and say he believes that there's a cover-up going on, that we have been in contact with UFOs, non-human, and he confirms that the contact has been made. Here we are, another situation. Now, still not enough for some people, but give it more time. Wait till you got more and more people stepping up. Then what are you gonna say?
Hello, TikTok. I want to go over my theory of the new logo for the Air Force. I've heard different theories about this UFO being in the logo, but now I want to go over my own. I've never believed that the elite would give us information unless they had a plot for it. And I don't know if you remember when they said something about that there were supposed to be documents and proof that aliens existed. I've never seen it myself, but I do remember that. But I believe there's a whole agenda in making us believe that UFOs and aliens exist. See, I think that they know that the rapture is supposed to happen soon. So they want us all to be thinking that when people start disappearing, that it was due to UFOs abducting people. Because they want to get you off guard. They don't want you to be expecting that the rapture is happening so you can prepare yourself. Instead, they want you to think that it's the UFO and the aliens. Cause see, a long time ago before, they used to laugh at you for believing that aliens were real. But now that it's convenient to them, they want to tell you that it's real and tell you you were right all along. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments.
I do agree that there could be some form of distraction going on, manipulation, absolutely. Because you have to always ask yourself in anything that you're trying to figure out, why now? Why is this happening now? What could they stand to gain, if any, now? So asking that question, I think, keeps you on your toes and trying to figure this whole thing out. Because that's what we're all sitting here trying to do, is just figure it out.
Conspiracies that actually turned out to be true. Part 2. In August 1965, the USS Maddox engaged on a North Vietnamese torpedo boat, but the problem was, there was no boat at all. President Lyndon Johnson at least reported that there was 2 Vietnamese boats that sunk in this attack. This then went to media outlets and the whole American public knew about it. This was a picture of the Maddox the night where it was shooting at absolutely nothing. The American people thought this was a win, but when they found out that it was false, they were upset. This then escalated further conflict in the Vietnam War. Conspiracies that...
And see, that's why will be making me question why we haven't like shot at none of these things in the sky that we've seen. You know what I mean? We don't never see anything getting fired upon. Nothing. It just happens. It just floats around aimlessly in space and nothing ever happens to it. That's the part that gets me. I didn't want to click on this one at first, but then it read migrant surge with U.S. tax dollars. Oh, I'm clicking on that.
Welcome back. Well, illegal border crossings break a new record, with CBP reporting over 300,000 encounters in December, the highest month ever recorded.
Yeah, and our next guest outlined in a new op-ed how it could be impacting your wallet.
Todd Binsman is a senior fellow at the Center for Immigration Studies, and he joins us now. Todd, tell us how this crisis, which is a crisis that has been acknowledged almost by everyone except for the President of the United States, affects everyone's wallet.
Please.
Well, for one thing, they're not just coming here on their own dime. The United Nations, it turns out, is spending hundreds of millions of dollars in cash handouts, food, shelter, something called humanitarian transportation, really every human need that is required to make the long journey through Latin America, Central America, and Mexico. And who pays the UN? Who's the UN's major funder? It's the U.S. taxpayer is paying for this. How do we know this? Because there's a brand new budget document that the UN puts out for 2024. They're going to spend $1.6 billion to help 3 million illegal immigrants move through 17 different countries of Latin America and the Caribbean and Mexico. And that includes $370 million in cash cards, debit cards, $25 million in transportation assistance to help them move through. And the budget document also clearly shows that they are witting, that they know that these are illegal immigrants and that they are moving illegally through their own member states. And they're using 248 NGOs to help hand out the cash.
Does that feel like another slap to the face to y'all? It should. It does to me. Well, maybe it doesn't have to for you, but it does to me. It hurts to feel that type of slap in my face.
So, go ahead.
Well, Todd, I was going to say, first of all, the UN is 0 for 2 with us this morning. But this money is supposed to go to legitimate asylum seekers. What's the vetting process like?
That's a big mystery, but you know, I've been down at the border. I've been to these waste stations. I've interviewed the illegal immigrants who are receiving this. I've had them show me their debit cards, the whole thing. They say that it's for the most vulnerable, but you know, they're planning to hand out debit cards and cash equivalents to 624,000 illegal immigrants in 2024. None of them look particularly vulnerable to me. I mean, a lot of them are grown men. They're adults. They don't seem weak or sick or anything like that. They say it's for the most vulnerable, but I don't see it. I'm sure there are some vulnerable people that are receiving this cash aid, but I also think that they just want to help as many illegal immigrants as possible move to the United States. And they know it, and they say it in the budget document, which is linked in my New York post and the Center for Immigration Studies piece that I published on this matter.
I think.
What's the conspiracy theory though here? It's got to be some type of conspiracy theory that I haven't figured out yet, that we haven't wrapped our mind around what they're doing this for. It's got to be some kind of reason, some kind of I don't know, money that they can see getting out of it or something. It's something to gain. We just haven't figured it out yet, y'all.
You're exactly right. There's an agenda there. So just to be clear for our audience,
an agenda.
We're funding the UN. The UN is funding people in Central America who they deem to be vulnerable, even if they're not vulnerable, to make the trek to the United States with our taxpayer dollars.
There's a little bit of irony there. Yes, and some Republicans have been angry about this ever since it was revealed that we're just handing out all this cash along the way, that our United Nations is doing this. Look, a lot of the money is earmarked by the White House, by the State Department, and goes straight to the United Nations High Commission on Refugees, UNHCR, and the IOM, the International Organization for Migration. That's the pass-through, but there's 15 other UN agencies that are involved as well.
Wow. Well, Todd, thanks for doing the spade work on this.
Illuminating.
We're dig in even
Thank you,
more.
Todd.
Scary. Thank you.
Thank you, Todd.
Suspect in the brutal beating of the 4 NYPD officers last week is currently held on a $15,000 bail. Investigators say they're still trying to track down all those who took part in the attack. Some of the men were arrested and released with no bail, but officials say the worst offenders are still on the run. I want to bring in New York Congresswoman Nicole Malliotakis. It's great to have you here, and New York City Council member Vicky Palladino, because this story is getting a lot of national attention. Do we know where these migrants are?
No.
Well, basically, rumor has it, because they could.
No. When you got to start the sentence off, rumor has it, we have no clue. And we're praying that they make a mistake where we can locate them or something like that. But if they don't, we have no clue where they are and what city they could stop off in and terrorize.
They're free. They're out. No charges, no nothing. They're out. Try to find them. Rumor has it, California. That's what they say. How did they get from New York to California? They are free to roam as they please. This is
How mad is the city council or not?
How mad is the city council? I don't think
They
the
don't
city
care?
council's moved at all. Because had it not been covered in the news, and I'm sitting here before you today, they could care less.
So what we're learning, New York Post is report. We thought on Friday that a faith-based group, of which, so people who don't live in New York, just so you know, the faith-based groups they run the interface for all the migrants throughout the city, and they help them in all the different boroughs. We thought on Friday they were helped by a faith-based group to get on a bus. Apparently that's not the case. The Post is reporting that police have an idea of where the men are. I think here's the fundamental question. If you're a Democratic leader in the city of New York today, what do you want to do? Do you want to allow these men to go ahead and dissolve back into the border across into Mexico and the story's forgotten? Or do you want to arrest them, apprehend them, bring them back to New York City before a judge and get weeks of terrible publicity for awful policies?
Well, I know that New Yorkers want to see these individuals held accountable. And I think it goes back to the laws that Bill de Blasio passed in 2014 that prohibits NYPD from cooperating with Immigration and Customs Enforcement to have these individuals deported. Literally, a detainer request can be on any individual, including the one who committed murder, by the way, at the Roosevelt Migrant Center. And they will release that individual back onto the street if they're not going to jail. And instead of deporting that individual and working with ICE, they've actually denied every single detainer request. And we know that there are at least been 1,000 individuals at these migrant encampments that have committed crimes in the city, everything from assault to robbery to grand larceny to stabbing and a murder. And these cops weren't the first to be assaulted. People should know that there was a woman who slapped a police officer outside his shelter. There was also...
It's like the Wild Wild West out there. And that's going to end up costing them, especially the city. Why? Because the tourists are not going to want to come. The tourists, they're not going to want to come there. People are going to want to leave. That's going to ultimately hurt that city. And if they don't get ahead of it soon, It's gonna cripple them. It's the wild, wild west. You mean people are being released after committing all these types of crimes? Yeah, nope, I don't need to go.
DUI arrest of a migrant that ended up biting the finger of a NYPD sergeant. And these people are back on the street. I mean, somebody who pickpocketed 8 times arrested, released back onto the street to go to one of these luxury hotel rooms.
We saw the governor of New York on that subway car last week.
Basically saying, you promise you won't do it again? You promise. You promise. Pinky promise. You don't do it again? All right, you're free to go. You better not do it again. You gave me your word.
Hey, if you mess with our cops, you will pay the price. Will she follow up on her own words?
The one thing the governor of the state of New York has the ability to do is to actually fire people like Bragg, and she could do away with the law that was passed in 2017, 2014. This is all within her grasp. They're not doing anything. Ask yourself why. Why aren't they doing anything? I've held the governor of this state accountable for every single thing that's happened with the immigration and the illegal aliens flooding, invading our city since this started. Okay? And yet, they all talk the talk. Nobody wants to actually do what needs to be done. And you brought up a good point. As a Democrat leader in a city and state such as New York, don't you want to actually do something so that there's finally a decent headline about you? No, they don't care. This is a whole new New Yorkers. Now, back in March of 22, that's how they were titling them, the new New Yorkers. So as 400,000 New Yorkers left the city of New York.
We got new ones.
We got new ones.
The other thing is, Congresswoman, that Mayor Adams has this new pilot program, right? $53 million that would go on cards, basically. This is the mayor. These would be debit cards. He says, not only will this money provide families with the ability to purchase fresh food for their culturally relevant diets and the baby supplies of their choosing, but the pilot program is expected to save New York City more than $600,000 per month or more than $7.2 million annually. I mean, does he have a point? Is this a better way to try to deal with the situation?
We could actually save taxpayers billions of dollars if he just stops offering any of these free incentives. That's what's attracting people to come to New York City. So the president may have created this crisis with his executive orders, but our mayor and our governor keep helping it perpetuate.
See how they word things? Oh, but we're going to save you money. You could actually save us a lot of money by not even doing this. By fixing this problem, you could save us a lot of money. So is it really us? Or you just threw that out there? It's kind of like other different stats and surveys that they throw out. But if you do some digging, you really find out what you really could be doing, or really could be saving, or really could be preventing.
Perpetuate it by offering all these things. And again, somebody gets arrested, they get released back onto the street, they go back to their luxury hotel room paid by the taxpayers, and then they're going to receive a debit card on top of it.
500 migrant families initially. If it's successful, they're going to get 150,000 migrants here. Quick thought on this.
Once again, $7.3 billion. We are over budget right now. $7.3 billion. How much more are we going to do with this, honestly? And with the city council that we have right now overriding anything that the mayor is trying to do to help protect our law enforcement is falling flat. We call upon the governor of the state of New York. I call upon my city council. It's time for real action and real common sense here, and we're not getting it.
Great to have you both here. The New York strong women. I love it. Good to have you.
Chicago migrants originally set to be evicted from city shelters this week are now being given an additional 2 weeks to find housing.
All right, this is now the third time Mayor Brandon Johnson has extended the eviction notice for thousands of migrants.
And it is cold in Chicago. Currently, they've got 36 degrees. Lawrence Jones is there. Actually, Lawrence, you're missing the cold weather. It's 30 degrees here.
Yeah, we got a little rain here as well, mixture with that cold weather. Guys, we've talked to you about what's happening at the border. We reported on it. We've told you about the cities that have declared themselves in the sanctuary. But we wanted to explore the impact on the residents because they want to be sanctuary cities. Chicago is first on that list. Take a look.
What's the big problem in Chicago right now with the migrant crisis? the mayor allowed the illegal migrants to come into our city to invade Chicago. 2, that schools, park districts that was closed and allowed the migrants to be in there, repurposed. These apartments, middle-class families was living there, and they're building them now for migrants.
Where is the money coming from to pay for all of this?
Well, the money is coming from the hard-earned taxpayers, taxpayers' dollars that don't have the luxury now to go to the park in their community because migrants are there.
You think it's a full-blown invasion?
It's an invasion. You know, they're using asylum, and some of them are saying, look, we were living better where we were. So if you were in fear for your life, how could you be living better where you were?
This used to be an academy for young...
I didn't hear that. Some of them saying they were better where they were due to the conditions and different things they've been placed in when they got here. Because where are they gonna go? That's the first time I heard that.
Women. And now they said they could not continue to operate it because of funding. Now they're operating this same academy as a place for migrants to sleep and stay.
It's just like Wadsworth. It's just like many of our schools, our parks that was closed and shut out from the community for our children that we pay taxes for to be successful. You tell us that there's no funding or there's lack of funding, but then you bring migrants in and make them shelters. That's not the American way.
They shut down this health center that's behind me, but what was confusing is that they turned it into a migrant shelter.
This health clinic was for the community. This was a place that if you didn't have a lot of money, you didn't have any insurance, you can go there and get the service. But they took that away from the community and now made it a...
They said they couldn't afford it anymore? What was the reason why they took it away?
Funding.
Lack of funding again. And now they have the funding to put migrants in here that are in the country illegally.
They have the funding, and every now and then they say, hey, we found more millions, we found more money.
So we're at a location that was once a school, and now migrants have taken this over as well.
This school where we're at now is called Wadsworth. We're in the heart of Woodlawn. This school was part of the 50 schools that was closed in the city of Chicago due to lack of funding.
As we're here, you smell the weed. You see the migrants that are starting to scatter now as they see that we're here. They were all in this playground right here, and now they're going back into the facility. But before we got here, all of this was full of migrants. It's already out of control right now. How much time do we have before there's utter chaos in Chicago?
When they release what's in these buildings, when they release them out of these buildings, out of the clinics, out of the parks, that's when the chaos is going to start.
That's scary. That's scary for the people and the residents there, man. Like at that point, you'll potentially become a prisoner in your own home. You know what I mean? You'll be peeking out your blind and out your window trying to see what's going on. Is it safe to go outside? Are the people outside, are they upset? Not to say that crime doesn't already exist. We're not saying that. We're not saying that problems aren't need to be met, because people hear that and they say, well, y'all act like it wasn't no crime here before. Nobody said that. But now you present more crime on top of that. On top of that. Like, this is bad.
And guys, we reached out to the mayor, Brandon Johnson. Of course, we didn't hear back from him. But guys, I think it's important to note that we're in the political season and voters are watching about the issues that matter to them. And I know that the current president is using a lot of racial inflammatory rhetoric when dealing with minorities communities. but they're going to remember what's been done in their communities, the promises that were being made to take care of them. And right now, they're prioritizing illegals right now.
Right. And Lawrence, you know, we talked about it here on this program. In December, the city of Chicago had such an inflow of buses, they enacted a policy where there could be a big fine for the bus company if they drop people off without an appointment and without a permit. And so they're dropping people off just short of Chicago in some of the suburbs like Wilmette, Illinois, where people are not accustomed to a lot of newcomers like that. And suddenly that town's got to deal with it.
That's exactly right. And these are people that traveled all across the world. So to suggest that just because you stop them, you know, miles away, that it's going to stop them from coming to your city when that's their final destination, I think it's just clueless. Maybe they're going to spend some extra days getting there, but they know exactly. Look, we've reported from the border. These folks know where they're going to go before they even enter into the country. Greg Abbott just helping them along the way.
Yep. Right. The mayors are complaining the federal government's not helping them out. And the people are saying you're using our money to help out people that don't belong here. It's a lose-lose all the way. And the problem is fundamentally at the border. Lawrence, thanks so much. It's really.
And I saw a lot of people getting upset as well, saying, you know, that some of those are my relatives coming over here and different things like that. I get it. I get it. But if I had a relative that came over and broke the law, how would you feel? If I had a relative that broke the law by coming here, how would you feel? You wouldn't feel right about that, would you? I get it when it's your family member or, you know what I mean? You feel some type of way about it. We're talking about people that are breaking the law by even coming here. Then they get here and see something that may trigger them and they break the law again by taking a flag, assaulting a person about a flag that may be up. You know what I mean? It's causing so much chaos. On top of that, can I tell you what to do with your money? I can't, can I? So should you be able to tell me how to feel about what's being done with my money? Think about that.